Oh, man. Here we go back with another one.
Yes, we are back. Make sure you subscribe to become part of the tribe. Make sure you like or take a hike and comment if you're rocking with the content.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got a special guest in the building.
That we do, man. Yes, we do.
And as we always say, he's the most recent.
So he's most special.
He's the most special. And he's going to end this year off right.
That's right.
One of them fire ones.
That's right. Yeah.
We got a fire producer. We're going to talk about, his new tape that slaps. We're going to get into his history a little bit on this music tip. We got LP Lost Perception in the building. What's up, bro?
What's up?
It was good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always good to, connect with people from the scene and, just chop it up.
For sure, man. Thanks for coming through. You were the rare person who has been on this show who is west of Litchfield, I want to say.
That's accurate.
Literally every time I got to be like, look, here's where I am.
Yep.
Plan accordingly. Map your route.
SoCal, Arizona.
Arizona is where we live. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, no joke. I just went to California and I made it in less than 5 hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Easy work.
But yeah, when you sent me the address, I was like, wait, that's like 10 minutes away. That's crazy.
Yeah. Straight down south. We right there. You know what I'm saying? On the side of the tent. So let's get into it, man. You just dropped a tape. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's get into kind of your start, your come up, in not only the Arizona music scene, but the music scene in general.
Okay. So I think, when I first fell in love with hip hop, here's the thing. A lot of my peers, a lot of my friends that are into hip hop, they're a little bit older than me. So,
okay.
When they came up, it's usually like that early 90s, like NWA, Eric B, Wu-Tang, all that.
The good stuff.
Yeah,
the
right.
good stuff.
And it's all dope. But for me, I just turned 37, so I was a little bit too young for that. So when I came into hip hop, it was around like 95, right? And so that's really like when Pac was with Death Row, Biggie's at the height, right? And so that's really when I first fell in love with it. And I remember hearing hip hop like growing up just because my mom was a music lover. So, I'd hear like LL Cool J going back to Cali, or like my sister was into like Vanilla Ice or whatever.
Okay.
But just being a music fan just because of my mom, she listened to everything. By the time I did really discover hip hop and dive into it, it was just a whole new world for me, right? So then I went backwards. So then I went back and I studied, all the those that came before that era that I first started listening to. Then I got a little bit older and No Limit popped off. And that just blew my mind.
Shout out to No Limit
Absolutely.
days, bro. The No Limit days was crazy.
Yeah, so I'm from Maryville, right? Yeah. So I went to school in the heart of Maryville, Andalusia Elementary School. There used to be a warehouse right there. And so 7th, 8th grade, every day I would walk from school to that warehouse, drop that $20 for every No Limit CD every week. I would use my allowance.
Man, the warehouse, dude.
Yeah.
I miss the warehouse, dude. That was such a cool place to go get music, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, just reading the liner notes, the producers, seeing, Master P, executive producer, the covers. I really just was fascinated by that whole movement. And that's really when I was like, you know what? Like, I want my own record label when I get older, right?
Okay,
so, respect. So fast forward, I just kind of started enjoying all kinds of hip hop, right? That opened me up to other music in the South, But eventually, I made a friend who was an MC in 8th grade. He started to rap, and I was like, "Wow, I actually know someone in real life that does this."
Right.
So, by the time we got to high school, he started doing it more seriously, and he wanted to record, but he didn't know, how to make, or how to get beats or anything. He was just rapping over instrumentals.
Which is what everybody was doing at the
absolutely.
time. Like, nobody really had a dude
Yeah.
Everybody was rapping when nobody was making beats. It was like straight up LimeWire.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then we
sure.
try to get the instrumentals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, you know, by that time I wanted to be a DJ.
Okay.
But I really didn't have, you know, money for turntables or whatever.
Yeah,
so I was in my technology class in high school. My teacher in there, he had this program called what was it? Magic's Music Maker.
Magic's Music Maker.
Yeah.
That was my first recording program too that I ever got. Yeah, shout out
nice.
to Magic's, man.
And so like he let me borrow the disc and I took it home. And
Fire.
so, you know, it was pretty straightforward. Like it had loops in there. You can kind of just build them up and make your own beat. And so those were my first beats.
Okay.
But then I realized like, wait a minute, I could, you know, cause I've always also had a background in IT. So like I always had that love, right? So I had built my first computer around that time too. So I knew a little bit about, you know, Windows and all that stuff.
Okay.
So I figured out like, wait a minute, I could go into the system settings and put my own like samples in there. Like this is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I would go get my mom's records or my sister's CDs and I would rip them into the computer and I would cut them up in this program called Nero Wave Editor. It came with like it was like a CD burning software.
Okay.
And so I would take loops of like, you know, from drums or like little riffs.
Right now, bro. You taking me back.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
This is cool, man. I like this, dude.
I'm like, ripping CDs. I'm
Yeah,
like,
right?
oh shit, we used to do that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, for real.
Facts though. Go ahead.
So I'd put it in like the program directory, and so then I would start making my own beats in Magic's Music Maker with my own samples. Right?
Okay, fire.
And so that was cool. But then eventually, I discovered Fruity Loops 3.5. And here's the thing, like, it wasn't even cool back then. Like people used to clown on it. Like it just used to come free with, you know, different products, and no one liked it. But I basically did the same thing. I put my own samples in there and I would construct my own beats using that. And it was so cool. So I would just kind of, you know, make these beats. I would give them to my friend. We would go book studio time and we would, you know, record songs. So eventually, you know, we had a little crew or whatever. And some of us kind of had a falling out, but I was still cool with my one friend. His name was Creeper, by the way.
Okay.
You know, shout out to him if he's out there still. But he had moved right to this townhouse on 47th Avenue in Thomas.
Okay.
And one day he's like, "Hey man, like my neighbor, you know, he makes beats, and you know, I think you should meet him." But he had, you know, he just told me about this website called 602 Streets.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I went on to 602streets.com, and like everybody from the scene was on this website.
Okay.
And that's where I found out about Atlas and Hood Famous.
Yo, shout out to Atlas,
yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Atlas. I found out about the Dark Water Merchants, which Atlas was part of, Mind Spit, which was like Shogun and Mike Devious, and Sci-Fi and Knock, Avenue of the Arts crew.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people were on the site. So I became a fan. So I would go to Zia's and buy their stuff.
Yeah.
That's when, you know, that's really when I learned about Shogun being a producer. And there was another producer out here at the time called the Strata Hyru.
Okay.
He actually produced Hood Famous. So I just was like, wow, this is so cool that this is people like me actually like doing this for real.
Right.
So I ended up meeting my friend's neighbor.
Okay.
So my friend's neighbor turned out to be Arlo from the Society of Invisibles.
Right.
And and so at that time they weren't TSOI yet. They were still called the Collective.
Yeah.
Eventually they merged with the Dark Water Merchants and formed the Society of Invisibles. But that's when I met Rock. That's when I met Judgment, and I really started to form a relationship with them. But kind of going back to 602 Streets, I was sort of getting away from making beats for my crew, and I really just wanted to push, you know, my one friend, and I was looking, you know, to network. So what I ended up doing was I saw there was this cat out here. His name was He Just Trife, and he was doing all these different mixtapes. It was the Probable Cause series.
Okay.
And like he like had everybody on the scene in these mixtapes. So I said, hey man, like you know, I would really like to work with you. I have a friend, he's ill. Can you get on? He's like, sure. So I go to his crib, you know, the two of us, you know, they record a song. You know, but that's the day I met him. I met you know, Carnegie, and rest in peace to Carnegie.
Yeah, rest in peace to Carnegie.
You know, Khalik, I met him there.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, so they recorded a song, and it had, man, the song was crazy. It was called Terrazona Triumph.
Okay.
And so they rapped over Triumph from Wu-Tang. And this was, it was Triumph, it was Carnegie, it was Khalik, it was Two-Tone, Blaze Rock, Joey Bags, Rock was on it. Like, this track was crazy. So I said, hey man, like, can I get the acapella? He's like, yeah, no problem. So I remixed the track.
Fire.
Yeah, and I threw it up on 602 Streets. And so from there, there was this cat, his name was Diggs. Shout out to Diggs, man. So Diggs used to manage this other cat named Philharmonic. And Philharmonic's one of the illest MCs you'll ever hear.
Philharmonic is fire.
And so he's like, hey man, you know, P Harm, we need some beats. You know, can you shoot me some stuff? So I shot him some beats, and they recorded a song, and I put that up on 602 Streets.
Okay.
And that's the song that really opened me up to the scene, because at that point, people were hitting me up left and right. And I had a crew. Called the Council Productions.
Okay.
And so at that point, you know, we were just making beats for everybody out here. And the original version of the crew was me, my homie Flip, and then I had a couple other guys that ended up kind of departing from the group.
Okay.
Just because I was trying to get more serious.
Right.
So it was just Flip and I for a minute, but then we eventually recruited a couple other guys. One was Shogun, and one was this other cat named Deuce Wild. But we can get into that later.
Okay. I'm with it.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so that really opened me up, right? And I met, around that time, that's when Blaze Rock hit me up, wanting to do some tracks as well.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this, like, Blaze Rock is a very, you know, close friend of mine, you know, brother. He was the best man at my wedding. And we had so many tracks together, man. And from there, I mean, we just did so many songs, and we kept growing, man. Like, you know, I kept meeting people. So if I fast forward a little bit, I want to say it's around like 2009-ish.
Okay. Yeah, because also just based on the timeline, that had to be like from 01 to like 06, 07.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just based on like the Fruity Loops 3.5.
Yeah.
Like,
everything I just said is from like 2002 up until the story I'm about to tell was 2009. So
okay.
all that stuff is crazy, man.
That's dope.
And so by this time I'm already working with Trife. Trife had his own studio called Music House. And so I mean, we've done so many tracks. He's kind of like he was more like a Diddy or like a DJ Khaled in terms of the kind of producer he was.
He wanted to put everything together.
Yeah, so I'd go over there. He's like, hey, man, I got this sample. I think you can do it this way. So I'd basically be his hands. I was learning how to do Pro Tools in his studio, all that stuff.
Okay.
And it was cool because I was being exposed to other people, like other artists.
Right.
And so I was in there, and by this time I had known a lot of people, and I wanted to make a compilation, like kind of like how he was.
Okay.
And so I was kind of getting my name out there. So I started doing like beat battles, and one day I was doing a beat battle, and it was like me, it was DJ Les, Mustafa.
Okay. Shout out Mustafa.
Yeah, man.
I haven't heard that name in a minute.
Super fire producer.
He's fire. Yeah.
I mean, you're dropping all kinds of names here. This is crazy.
And I'm not trying to be a name dropper. I'm just
no,
it's not a bad.
No, you rolling me back.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is crazy.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Keep going.
It's nuts. And
I'm
so,
loving it.
like, it was over. Les like just completely smashed me on that beat battle, but it's okay. And so I'm outside, and this cat comes up to me, and he hands me a flyer. He's like, "Hey, what's up? My name's Mega Ran. I want you to check out my new flyer and my new album."
Dude.
And he hands me the flyer for Mega Ran, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, yo, okay, cool. Like, this is dope. I had never heard of him at that point. So, but, you know, I was working, he was working, and I think he kind of just saw how hard, you know, I was grinding at that time. And so eventually we ended up doing a couple of songs together. And he approached me one day. He was like, hey, man, you know, I'm really thinking about doing this Final Fantasy record. You know, what do you think? And I'm like, hell yeah, man, I love that game, you know? So eventually, like, fast forward to 2010, you know, he's like, hey, let's do it. So every day, man, like, you know, I would wake up at like 4:00 in the morning, get ready, go to work, get home by 2, work on some beats for a couple hours, spend time with my wife, my fiance at the time. She'd go to sleep, then I'd work on some more beats until, you know, 2 a.m, go to sleep and repeat, you know, for months, you know, for Final Fantasy. And, you know, once it was done and he put it out, you know, that joint went super viral.
Yeah, it did. Yep.
You know, and that was, what, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's crazy, man. Like, just all the response that got, you know, all the just connections that I happened to make during that time.
So when you were producing that record, was it difficult for you? Because obviously you're a fan of the game, and you're trying to create these sounds, just basically universal sound for not only for an artist, but also trying to keep it true to the game's feel and still have that level of energy that a hip-hop track needs. Like, did you find that balance of doing all of that a little bit difficult, or was it easy because you loved the game so much, it was like, this, I can just pull, oh, there's a sound, let's go?
It wasn't easy, but it wasn't super difficult.
Okay.
And so the reason why I say that is because the reason why I knew I was up to the challenge is, so there's a song on that album called Sephiroth, right? And so that beat is actually sort of a remix of a beat that I did for Blaze Rock on when it hit on the first album we did together, which was called All Things in Due Time. Okay. And so when Rand had approached me about this, I was like, yo, like, that's perfect, because I already like kind of went down this path. Okay. And so, you know, of course I went to my bro Blaze Rock. I was like, hey man, do you mind if I, you know, redo this beat because you already have a song? He's like, yeah, no problem, whatever. Blaze is actually on the intro of Black Materia. But so I was just doing me, man. Like, you know, I was just taking the sample, flipping it like I normally would. There were a couple of songs that were really difficult, so what I ended up doing was just kind of looking up like the sheet music and kind of just plugging it into Fruity Loops or whatever and recreating it that way. Okay. That's kind of like how I got the most popular song on that, which was Avalanche, because that has very little of the sample in it, but it's more of like a trap style beat, like an old trap version, like Jeezy type trap beat. Right. But yeah, so it wasn't too hard, but it wasn't too easy either. Okay. Yeah.
Since we're here too, you just re-released or the instrumental or remixes. Didn't you just do remixes of that? Because you dropped, by the way, we'll touch on them, but you just dropped 4 projects this year, right? Beat tapes?
Sort of, yeah. So I did release 2 beat tapes this year. And, you know, we can get into that too. So with the instrumentals, I only had them up on my Bandcamp.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I had taken them down for a long time. Okay. I recently put them back up, and then I put them back on the streaming, and so that's what you saw. Now they're available to everybody. Okay. And so sort of the story behind that was after Black Materia came out, I helped Rand push it. You know, like I was helping him ship stuff out, right? Like I would go to work and stuff. You know, the packages. You know, take them to the post office. And, you know, we did that for that year. But I had some very personal events happen in my life. Okay. You know, towards the end of that year, going into the next year. And that really, like, took me out of my element. Like, it, like, set me back. And so that kind of started my sort of decline, or I kind of just went away. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I disappeared. And I still did things here and there, like if someone asked me, for some stuff. But I really stopped. I just had to go away. It was I don't know, man. We can get into it if you want, but
it's up to you.
It's open for you, bro.
But I get it though. Sometimes you have to step away for whatever reason. Maybe it's just too much. Maybe it's stressful. Many different reasons why to step away from something to either reevaluate the situation and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think it's important to talk about it, just because it's gonna sound super depressing, but I'll flip it on you. You know what I mean? So the main thing that happened was, I had got sick, and I had got Bell's palsy, and I was very concerned about my appearance, how people would take me, and that like ruined my confidence. And for years, I'm not even kidding, for years, and I never healed from it physically. But what ended up happening was I read this book called The 4 Agreements, and that book just changed my life. And if you have not read that book, I suggest you read it.
Okay.
But it really sort of taught me that a lot of what we feel in life is based in fear. And so when you think about like anxiety or being nervous, let's just take public speaking, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you ever had to do public speaking?
Yeah.
All right. You get nervous before you do it, right?
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So check that out. Like, your brain doesn't know the difference between, your imagination and reality.
Right.
So you get nervous or you get afraid because you're already psyching yourself out.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there's been studies where your brain literally cannot tell the difference, like at that physiological level.
Okay.
So if you're just imagining it and you're feeling it for real, then it's real, right?
It's real to you. Yeah.
So what I realized after reading the 4 Agreements and other books like that, I was like, if I have that power to make myself feel this way, I could change that by just changing the things that I think about,
right,
and the way I see things.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
Okay.
And so I applied that to my personal life. I applied that to my career, at my job. And so what the results of that were, my relationship with my wife became better.
Okay.
I moved up fairly quickly with the company that I currently work at.
Fire.
So now I'm a senior leader there, and so by the time 2019 comes around, I'm at a really good place in my life.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I'm getting the itch to make music again.
Right.
And so I got a new computer. Like, I started like digging for samples again. I started making beats.
Fire.
Nice.
And then all of a sudden, I'm on Instagram. I see my boy Shogun posting beats, and Shogun had been gone for a long time as well.
Okay.
And Shogun was doing a sample challenge called Sunday School Beats. And I was like, like, what is this? And so I started like following it, just kind of, being a lurker for a little bit, watching. And so I jumped in it of December of last year. And that's kind of what reinvigorated me to really get back into making music. So shout out to DJ Organic, Mondo Modium, Il Al, and Kodak for really creating that challenge, because that's really what kind of got me back into the swing of things.
Okay.
And so from December up until Easter this year, I was making these beats every week for Sunday School Beats, and I decided, you know what, let me put out this beat tape.
Okay.
And so I called it Revival. And Revival because it made me want to get back into making beats. Revival because it's a Sunday School Beats challenge.
Right.
You know what I mean? So and then I kind of just kept going from there, making beats, reconnecting with artists, and it's been a really great year, man. Proving to myself that I could be consistent again, showing the world that I still have it. And the response has been amazing.
For sure.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. And let's get into that. I've been really listening to Juggernauts a lot.
Yeah.
That's been the one that's been slapping for me. And I'm gonna pull it up. I gotta pull up the list because I can't remember every single one.
Yeah, they got like 30 tracks on there.
Yeah,
right?
it was 30 tracks, 26 different producers I work with.
Yeah. So what was, before I get into my point, what was it that possessed you? Like, why did you want to do this specific project that has all these fire producers? And what was that process like? Because obviously every producer has a style, a flavor, a way that they want to build a track. So how was that process for you, and why did you start the process with that?
So I wanted to do it because back when I made my first run with music, like during that time I was describing earlier, from a producer standpoint, there wasn't a lot of collaboration. It was always like, you're over there, I'm over here. There was even like some beefs going on, just like some rappers would beef, which is silly. And I never liked that toxicity. And so getting back into making beats and seeing what the producer community is like now, I see that in certain aspects of it still. And I'm like, okay, well, we're never going to be successful if we don't work together. Like the only way, you look at anybody that's successful in anything, they don't do it by themselves. They do it by, working together, playing nice in the sandbox, helping each other. You think about a song that's successful on the Billboard charts or, from any genre, there's multiple writers, there's multiple producers.
True.
So why would I just focus on doing something by myself all the time?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of why I wanted to do this. I was like, you know what? Let me try to bring the community together.
Okay.
Let me try to make something that's dope where I can, highlight some people that I think are super ill, and we could use it to network. We could use it to showcase our talent. I have people from all over the world on that project, but a lot of it's from Arizona. So it's just like, let's continue to show the world what Arizona has.
Yeah. And y'all definitely did, like, y'all accomplished that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
100%. Like, there are some rappers on there.
I remember we were first listening to it, and I called him up, and I'm like, hey, we were talking, and I was like, bro, are you in the car spitting?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Spit some bars over these, man, because when certain music comes on and it catches him, he'll just be spitting some bars, just for fun, whatever, and it's always a good fun and stuff. But I had to call him and I was like, bro, are you spitting bars over these? And he's like, oh yeah, for sure. And you could tell him which ones they were, man. But
yeah, go to get some water, man. We're gonna be here for a minute. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Okay, so off the bat. Now you know what? So the process.
Okay, well I appreciate.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate the love for real. Because that really helps me keep going. You know what I mean? So, the process. So here's the thing. Like in my office career, right? Like it's been very good to me, and I've learned some skills. It's a lot of which helped me come out of my shell.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't have done this, 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
But now, like, I'm comfortable getting up in front of hundreds of people, speaking. I'm essentially a project manager as well, so I utilize a lot of those skills to get this done.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you ever dealt with musicians like that, but they're not always the most reliable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they could be a little flaky.
It's a little bit.
But
just to keep it a little nice. Yeah.
So I dealt with a little bit of that on this project, but you just got to keep it respectful and just follow up and be just be cool about it. But I essentially just started a beat, and I said, hey, I would love for you to be on this project with me. If you have the capacity to do so, then great. If you like what I did, then awesome. Add to it, do whatever you want. If you think it's trash, then change it. Or make something new and send it back to me. We can kind of go from there.
Okay.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
I really like that.
And,
that's cool.
I think now, because I want to do a part 2, so I think going into next year, I want to pull up with people actually like in the studio. But all this was over the internet. So it's just like, here's my Google Drive, here are the files. Let me know what you come up with, and we'll go back and forth.
I want to sidetrack just real quick, man. The whole mask thing.
Yeah.
was that a result from what you were talking about, kind of being
No.
Oh, or is that something totally different?
No, so how can I explain it? So it's a couple things. So there's a really deep meaning, and then there's a not so deep meaning.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I'm
So
down. Let's go.
the not so deep meaning, it's more of a branding thing, just to catch the eye of someone to want to click.
Oh, it's
on my
definitely
Instagram.
it
You know what I
definitely
mean?
captures
For sure.
the attention
Yeah.
of some. Yeah, for sure.
So then the deep meaning is it kind of goes twofold. So I didn't come up with the name Lost Perception until around like 2006, 2007.
Okay.
But I became Lost Perception when my mom passed away in 2001.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, I kind of alluded to dealing with some mental health issues, and really that's where it started,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah,
like, just to bring up Kanye real quick, a lot of people call Kanye crazy and all this stuff, but you notice that didn't happen until after his mom died.
Yeah,
We
I
just
know.
had this
We did.
conversation, bro.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That's
So like,
crazy.
so once I saw that, I related to it because I went through it. I didn't act all crazy like he did, but like in that way, I didn't show out.
Right.
But just in terms of how I felt, what's my future like, all that stuff. So eventually, I came up with that name Lost Perception to kind of help, personify that and use it to drive my inspiration. So the other part of it too was when I was first in the scene making beats, I felt I had to fight an uphill battle to get people to take me seriously a little bit, because I understand that I'm brown and I'm bald, so like I might look more towards like a cholo, but that's not really how I grew up. Yeah, I grew up in Maryville, but that wasn't me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was just a nerd playing video games that likes hip hop.
Gotcha.
I never owned a pair of Dope Mans in my life.
Right,
So or Cortezes, right?
Right.
So, but as I got older and then dealing, getting into the workplace, dealing with racism, all that
For
kind
sure,
of stuff.
For sure.
I was like, what? Like, why am I fighting sort of what my what my culture is, what my people are, I need to embrace that. So that's the other reason for the mask. Okay. So it's to embrace my culture. It's to remember my mom that has passed away, and also use it as a way to brand
Fire.
Man, I love
myself
that,
as well.
That is
story,
just
bro.
really
Yeah.
dope,
No,
dude.
that's dope, bro.
I'm glad you went into the Lost Perception thing, because I wanted to get there too, and I'm glad you said that, because it's just real important for people to hear too, because I think a lot of people, and we've had a lot of discussions about mental health.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different varieties of that they don't all look the same, but we all go through certain stuff, and I think it's really important for people like yourself and everybody to kind of talk about it, and
have to,
and because it's relatable. And I think with a mom passing, or just some sorts of depression, I think people need to read a book, or talk to a best friend, or there's different avenues for people to go down. I think that's super important. Do you continue? Sorry, we're gonna get back to Juggernaut, because I really want to get back there.
You're good, man.
Yeah.
Do you continue to work on that mental health? Like, do you?
Yeah.
Is that a continual? I wouldn't say like struggle, but just kind of always there in the background, where it's there, and you kind of have to keep working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have it under control now, because I've practiced that train of thought or that way of thinking for so long. It's now a habit. But there's other things that help me, right? So I'm really big into like Stoicism. So, it's really focusing on things that you can control. Don't worry about things that are outside of your control, right? Sort of like, if someone gets offended by something you say, like, as long as you were respectful and you had great intentions, like, that's not on you. You know what I mean? So that type of deal. Which there's a lot of the similar principles in the 4 agreements. One of them is like, always do your best. So like, if you give your best effort that day, no matter what happens at the end of the day, if you know in your heart that you did what you could, then there's nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? Like, so I know it's a very, broad simplification. There's different situations for everything, but
Yeah.
but that's kind of how I look at most things. So
Okay.
yeah.
No, dude. Yeah,
Nice.
I think it's, too, just maybe kind of we can end off here, man.
Yeah.
I think it's, kind of important to just even take 30 seconds to a minute a day and kind of appreciate
Absolutely
what you have around you, and be thankful for, even going outside and be like, oh, there's the sun, thanks, for letting that hit. Just take it in and just kind of let everything go for a minute. Just simply just kind of, quiet the noise a little bit. I think that's super important just to just take it down a little bit of a notch, because there's a lot of stuff going on around us constantly with life and social media stuff and yada, yada, yada.
Absolutely.
All that kind of stuff.
Because even like sometimes you have your own self-doubts about what you're doing. Because even like to this day, I'm like, dang, am I even good at making beats?
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, but I'm just like, I have to be, because like 30 people wouldn't have wanted to work with me, right? So like they can't all like, so I don't know, man. But that's kind of just sort of how I look at the world. But yeah, Juggernauts was definitely a task to complete. I'm glad I did, man. There's some fire on there.
Is there?
These producers, man, so talented.
Like, okay, so let's just start it off.
Let's get into
We're not gonna do the whole everything. So Enlighten brings it in, you know what I'm saying? And then it goes into shout out to Big Me. Then it goes into Soul Fire with K Murdoch.
Yep.
And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna need them to relax for a minute, okay? Then we get into Reflex,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Zilla
nah.
Beats.
Yeah, shout out Zilla Beats. So I haven't seen that name in a minute. And then so I'm like, okay, all right, I see what y'all trying to do here. Then we get into Didactic with Noctimus Prime. I'm at work. I'm like, yo. What the hell is wrong with these dudes, bro? Like, and it just keeps going from there. Yep. And then obviously, to our guy gets to track number 7, Affluent, DJ DN3. It just what I loved about this tape, man. And I want to ask you specifically about a certain sound, because kind of across the board there is this one thing, even though. So you got a couple things going on here. Every track is obviously different because of the different producers that you're working with, right? So you got these different vibes, and I love it. But there is kind of this sprinkle that's across every track, and it's this West Coast kind of funky kind of feel, and it's damn near on every single track. You've got a couple that's got either they really have live instruments. I think there's one that had a sax on it. But it's just really that West Coast funk. Is that your imprint? Because I feel like it's obviously your tape. Did you make it a point to like, I gotta have that sprinkle of that Westy type stuff?
You know what, man? Like, I never really thought about it as a West Coast sound. And a few people have told me, like, that know me, they're like, oh, you know what? Like, all these sound different, but we can definitely hear like your fingerprints, right? I can tell you, I didn't purposely go out there and make something sound super West Coast style.
Right.
Like the one with Knock came out like super West Coast.
That one was super West Coast for sure.
But for me, like I just tried to make sure that it sounded cohesive considering all the different styles. You know what I mean? I mixed everything, once I got everything back, and just to make it sound consistent, I did little change ups here and there, like arrangements, but I didn't set out specifically to make it sound like like a West Coast type of beat.
And I say that because one of our favorite producers, as far as making beats and executive producing, is Terrace Martin. And Terrace Martin is a lot like that, where he will make he just dropped one called Drones, which is absolutely incredible. And he'll make these it'll be his tape. He'll rap on it a little bit, but he's got a collective of people on there, and he'll make everything sounds different. We talked about this when we did our review on it. But there's always that sprinkle of Terrace, and Terrace is obviously from LA, So there's that West
Right.
Coast sound.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I loved it because for me, you know, my thing is I'm Westy. Like I love everything West. So when I was listening to it, I was like, yo, this is right up my alley.
Yeah.
And honestly, it leads me to my next question because I would love, like, I think music needs this, and I think we need this out here. The collection of people, artists, over these types of beats. Is that something that you're thinking about working on, or?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So, I always had the idea of, you know, making like a compilation album.
Okay.
So I'm definitely going to do a Juggernauts too, because it was producers that I didn't get to work with for this go around.
Okay.
But I definitely want to do
Which is
something.
crazy.
Yeah. Because like I didn't get to Les, I didn't get to, you know, Mustafa, I didn't get to Slop. You know what I mean? So which they all agreed. So but just to go back though.
Yeah.
Because I want to touch on something. So my favorite producer of all time is Stoop, the Enemy of Mankind from Jedi Mind Tricks.
Okay.
And like early on, like my beats for Blaze Rock were Stoop clones pretty much.
Okay.
But I just love that sound so much just because he used a lot of Spanish samples and it was like very boom bappy. But then, you know, now like, you know, trap is everywhere, right? Like that's kind of the sound, more of electronic sound. So for me, when I try to make beats now, I try to blend the two.
Okay.
And, you know, kind of make a boom trap beat, basically.
Okay.
And so that's really kind of, if there's one thing I was trying to do, is kind of keep that going throughout to where, you know, someone from the golden era could kind of appreciate it. And then, you know, someone, you know, like a 90s baby could appreciate it as well.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
But yeah, man.
If I wanted to buy one of those beats to rap on, would you sell me one?
I would.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So,
not for me personally. I'm just curious, you know.
For
You know,
for
like
people.
yeah, like if somebody
artists
was
out
like, "Oh my god, man! Like I can't. That beat is so fire. I have to spit on this. Like I got to do something, man."
Absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, I actually did get into selling beats this year, and I kind of backed off a little bit because I heard some of the downside to selling beats to people you don't regularly work with is you don't know if it's going to be good or not.
Yo.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's true. That's a big
It
problem.
sounds like you're putting your name on an artist, and if it comes out and it's like,
You're like,
produced by Lost Perception, you're like, nah,
we're
So-
good. You can take my name out of it. Even though the beat's fire, you know.
Right.
So sometimes it comes out really great, sometimes it doesn't. You know, so I kind of backed off from it. Like if someone asked me directly, then you know, then yeah, but yeah, that's crazy, man. But you were getting somewhere with that question, right? Oh, the compilation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that. I have some projects I want to do next year, and so once those are done with, I want to look into that.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, because I think I think you know what's been real cool, and obviously Khaled's done it. Clue, you know, did it. I mean, it's been done, you know, over and over again. But I think what's been real cool is lately you've been having like I said, Terrace Martin does a great job of his tapes when he does it. Snoop just dropped one called Algorithm, which is absolutely fire.
I think Amplified from Out Here is on there. He has beats on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That album is incredible.
It's crazy. Yeah,
It's
really
fire.
good. Yep.
So yeah, I think just when you're like as I'm listening to Juggernauts, I'm like, man, I could definitely hear. I mean, specifically some people that I know or know of, where I'm like, yo, he would be crazy.
Right.
Oh man, like, and I'm like, man, if we could do like Juggernauts with the artists, or even Juggernauts 2, and just have a couple on there with some artists on there, man. Because I'm like, man, like these but you know what? What was great about that was you drop some, and not a lot of producers can do this. And I'm being honest here. Drop a beat tape that is sonically pleasing to listen to throughout the whole tape. Like a lot of people have dropped beat tapes, and it's like by the fourth one, you're like, I'm just listening to instrumentals. And I think you did a great job. There's a couple times where you used. I don't know if you guys used actual real people or if they were samples in there.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like. I mean, it sounds like
you're right,
there's like
there
a
is.
chick
Yeah,
legitimately singing a hook.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I thought you guys did a great job across the board. You did a great job across the board of making it still feel like I'm listening to a full song, not just a beat.
Yeah.
So great job, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, and that joint, that's a sample.
Okay.
But I thought it sounded dope. Cause Shogun actually sent me like the chops for it.
Okay.
And I made the rest of the beat. I sent it back to him. He's like, dude, this is amazing. So but yeah, man, it really makes me happy to hear you guys say that, because it's one thing for like the producer I did it with to say it's dope, but it's another thing to hear someone that really doesn't make music like that, to give me that validation. So that's awesome.
That's fire, man.
Yeah, that's dope.
Thank you.
Cool.
So we got Juggernauts too. We can look forward to.
Yeah. What else? Who else you working with? Can you say? Or do you want to keep it a secret?
So I'm working on another beat tape.
Okay.
So I'll probably put that out January, February.
Okay.
I'm working on something. I'll just say we're working on it with K Murdoch and DN3.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But I did lock in with a couple.
Right.
I did lock in with a couple of artists,
Okay.
You'll see me have some placements in 2022. So I'm really looking forward to that stuff.
Fire, man.
Yeah. I can't wait, man. It's cool, man. I've always wanted to dive into beat making, dude. It's always kind of I never dived really into it, because that's how Dre and myself we met. We went to engineering school, so. Done all that kind of stuff, and I always wanted to dabble a little bit, man. I just never had the real drive for it, and so I really always appreciate talking to producers like you, because there is a part of me, and I don't think I'll probably ever really get to it, but I almost feel like I live my dream through listening to you guys, because it's amazing to hear what you guys create. Stuff that I'm like, how did they think of that, man? It's so fire, dude. And it could be something stupid, and I don't mean stupid, it's stupid, but it's just a little simple, like do. You're like, but that fits so perfect,
they heard that shit at Fry's while they were shopping. Like that was the PA system. do, and they were like, oh, that shit would be fire.
You know what I'm saying? Well, the crazy thing about my sort of approach to it is I made beats out of necessities for my friend, right? Like I said, I wanted to be DJ or like an engineer, right? I went to Crass. When I make a beat, I didn't have that musical training. So like I said, I started Magic's Music Maker, then FL 3.5. So I approached it from like a technical standpoint. Like I almost make beats like solving a math problem. That's kind of how I look at it. But what helped me is like as I moved to different equipment, like I ended up getting an MPC 1000, like that helped me learn about actual like bars and like measures and all this kind of stuff. And then kind of going back and forth between like FL and all this, like really learning scales and all that has helped me. But I still look at it from a mathematical perspective. Like even like making a chord, like I literally count, to get to the right chord progression. So it's crazy.
That's cool. That's cool, man.
That's very dope.
Well, I mean, music is math in some sort of sense, and that's really kind of cool. What would you tell any young person or anything, like how would you get started in trying to make beats? Like what would you say to like start with, like something kind of basic and simple to play around with? What would you say?
I would say to anyone wanting to make beats, if they have an iPhone or like an iPad, Beatmaker 3 or Koala. Like that's all you need. That's literally all you need.
That's crazy.
Yeah, technology's nuts these days.
Like I have a guy on there on Juggernauts. He's on there twice. Tatsumaki, super fire. He does all his beats on his iPad in Koala, and before that, he was doing it on a Note 4. It's crazy.
That's fire.
Yeah,
bro.
like, and his beat tape was just on like the bestseller on Bandcamp. You know what I mean? When he dropped it.
So crazy.
But yeah, so I would just say, use it's not very expensive these days. Like, all this stuff, the speakers and the NPCs and the fancy computers, that's just all for our own egos. Like, you literally could just do it on your phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I shouldn't be surprised by that, but I still am. I'm getting older, so it's like, man, it's just crazy that you could just have like this little device and just set it down and start playing around with it, bro.
It used to be like you would show up to the studio, and they got you got the NPC. I forget the one. There was one that came out. I want to say it was like 05, 06, and it was a keyboard, and it also had it was like a full on computer.
Wait, so are you talking about the Nico?
The Nico,
where it was like the Windows computer with the keyboard on it, and it had like the faders.
Yeah, it was like it was all in one right there, and you could plug that in. You could literally do everything right there, or you could use it as an outside thing for like Fruity Loops or whatever program you had. That was fire. That was crazy. But you don't even need that no more,
right?
Yeah. You know what I'm
saying? You just need a phone now. That's crazy, it,
man. It's crazy to think like back then, all the equipment that was sitting in a room just to make a beat. Now it's just like, and you're done. You know what I'm saying? You're in there.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Really, really cool.
Man.
But I just just real quick, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just at Paco Knott's house. Do you guys know Paco? No. So Paco,
not personally,
he's been out here for a minute. He has a group with Blaze Rock called BP Mercenaries.
Okay.
Super fire. Their music is like really built around like the fitted community. So if you want to check that out.
Okay.
But same thing. He was just telling me he has an iPad with his MIDI controller and he could just do all his beats on that, man. It's nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What are you working with right now?
So I kind of bounce back and forth. So I never left FL.
Okay.
So my main thing is I use FL as my DAW. Like, and so I got an MPC again. So I use my MPC and I route it into FL.
Right.
Either I record it through the interface or I just use the plugin. Mm-hmm. And I also have Machine that I dabble with sometimes too, because I was an early adopter on Machine when it came out. I had a boy that worked there, and so he was able to get me one pretty early on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's kind of what I do now is everything runs in FL. I arrange everything in there just like you would, a Pro Tools or an Ableton or whatever. So, but yeah, it's pretty much. So I kind of have the best of both worlds in terms of like a hardware software approach.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. I like that.
Fire.
But yeah, man,
that's dope. Like a physical and a digital, kind of converging together.
Awesome. The two worlds collide.
Yeah, one thing I didn't touch on is I'm really trying to do another album with my boy Road Knowledge. Rock
yeah,
knowledge.
We got Road Knowledge. Road Knowledge.
Yeah.
Shout out Rock Knowledge.
Yeah,
man.
I want to do something different, and I think
we got to get him. We trying to get him out of retirement.
Really getting him to, I call him a rapper. He hates that, but I want to get some more spoken word out there. But really looking forward to really putting out more music this next year. And just put out good stuff.
For sure.
Help build out the scene. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great music coming out of Arizona.
A lot of good stuff.
You just got Ran on Billboard. Felix is on there now.
Shout out to Felix.
Alexis just dropped his single with Snow the Product.
Yeah. Fire
Tony
too.
Chalk produced that. He's from here. Man, there's so much talent here, man.
Shout out to Bootleg Kev too.
Absolutely.
His whole thing he's doing. Yeah.
Man, so I'm just really excited about the state where it's at now, compared to where it was. Mm-hmm. People like you highlighting, the artists and, the community. Man, it's great, man.
Yeah.
It's really great.
No, I think we've been talking about this, man. Next year is going to be, I just talked to Miranda. You just talked to Miranda last night too, man. And shout out to Miranda, everything he's doing with Just Give Me 5 and the new show that he's got, live renditions. Incredible. Shout out to Jimmy Nelson too. I was like, bro, like next year it's gonna be crazy for all of us. Like it's gonna be nuts. Like I really can't wait for next year, man. And glad cats like you are back in the scene. You know what I'm saying? It's a necessity, man. Like, you gotta have I don't want to say the old guard, the true guard, man. Like, there's a reason that the Snoops and the Nas's and the Jays and these guys remain in the game, it's because the authenticity and the trueness that they bring to the table, man. And you're definitely a part of that. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Mega Rands are still around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why the Mirandas are still around. The Metaphoricals, like these guys have been a part of the AZ community, AZ hip hop scene, and just music in general. That's why they're still around. You know what I'm saying? And so to have you back in full force, fire beat tapes this year. Can't wait for 2022, man. And I can't wait for the compilation. I'm gonna be hitting your line like, yo, hit this dude. I'm gonna DM him. I might be like your little side manager, bro. I'm gonna go get some guys for you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yo, I told this dude.
Yeah.
What do you think of him? Yeah. I got you. I'm gonna slide the number over.
I'm really excited for you, bro.
I'm
looking forward to seeing you just even succeed. You know what? Even beyond of what you're even thinking of, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's kind of exciting about doing this too. Is, you know, interviewing you guys and
sure.
It's like living through you guys
For
in
sure.
a sense, man, and vicariously through you guys, and it's amazing to see what you guys are doing and how everybody's kind of doing stuff within the community and all kind of work. I love how everybody seems to be really working together right now. It's actually really kind of cool, man.
I agree, and that's what I really love about it. You know, we're all in this together. We're all on the same team. Like, all we have to do is just continue to work together, be consistent, and really put out a high quality product, and we will, you know, reap the results of that, right?
Oh,
like,
for sure.
We will see, you know, continued growth. So
yeah,
we're looking forward to it.
Tell everybody where they can follow you and find your music, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'd say on Instagram, The Lost Perception. That handle kind of bugs me because I had Lost Perception, but Instagram hated on me and deleted my other page. Yeah, I'll tell you that so real quick. So
yeah, like,
what?
We're not gonna let you get out. We can talk about this.
So I started looking into SEO, like search engine optimization, and trying to figure out how I can grow, like, you know, my account, my Instagram, and like my YouTube page.
Right.
And so I thought I cracked the code with Instagram because I started getting like a lot of engagement, like followers, likes, and all that stuff, like real followers. Yeah.
Right.
And so it was going great. And then I started getting into selling beats. And so, you know, there's all kinds of platforms to sell beats. But the problem with that is like the beats just don't sell themselves. Like, you have to go out there. And so the method I chose was to reach out to artists on Instagram. So I'd reach out to people, like I'd spend like an hour a day like DMing, like, yo, you know, when they Lost Perception, blah blah. And so I think the amount of messages I was sending out, on top of when I started promoting Juggernauts, because I was tagging everybody,
right,
I think Instagram thought I was a bot.
Oh snap!
And they didn't give me a warning. Like,
and they just shut you down.
Shut my shit down. I went through the whole process to try to get it back, and nothing. They didn't even respond to me. So I just made a new one, and so I just kind of went back to the tactics I was using, which, you know, were helping me grow again. But I just stopped the whole trying to reach out and I'm good.
That's crazy.
Algorithms, dude, and stuff like that.
It's so weird, bro. Hold on. Instagram, y'all gotta cut this shit out, man. y'all be getting rid of the wrong motherfuckers, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I have people, like,
get the fuck out of here.
I have fake accounts, like, you know, reach out, like, oh, you know, like, you know, I was scared, you know, or
yeah,
like,
I mean, come on, man.
Like,
they out here come see a titty for $2 and shit. You shut down real people, man. It's some bullshit.
And I'm just like,
check my page out. I got a fat ass. Bitch, you not even real.
Or I had one guy, he's like, I posted a video of my beat machine or MPC. He's like, yo, that beat's fire, I want to buy it. I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, it's on my BeatStars page, here you go. He's like, well, what's your PayPal? And I'm like, just get it on my BeatStars. He's like, well, nah, what's your PayPal? And I'm like,
nah,
bro, like, go to my BeatStars. And so I ended up like searching the dude's username. Turns out, like, he convinces people to give them his PayPal account, and then he like social engineers them. He does like a password recovery thing and gets the code from them, and he takes over their account. And I'm just like, okay, like, that's what really pissed me off. I'm just like, okay, you have people legit scamming folks.
people.
and you delete me just because I'm trying to freaking make a living. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
man.
Make connections with people.
Wow.
I mean, that's what the platform is for.
Yeah.
Is you're making connections with people. It's called social media for a reason.
Yeah, they be
I'm just trying to grind, but it is what it is.
Yeah, man.
So lost perception, lost perception.
The Lost Perception
Yeah,
on
that's
Instagram.
Yeah, that's the main way. You know, or lostperceptionmusic.com.
Okay.
That kind of just takes you to my link tree and, you know, has, you know, all the links to my beat tapes, my social media. I want to get better with TikTok and Twitter next year, but
Yeah.
Instagram seems to be what I'm good with.
Yeah.
So
TikTok is fire though. We gotta
TikTok,
get better.
TikTok is
It's
interesting.
crazy,
It's
though.
interesting. Yeah,
Algorithm.
that's a weird algorithm, dude. When you start talking about social media
it's
stuff,
fire,
that's
yeah.
even weirder. But anyways, yeah, man, make sure you follow him at The Lost Perception. Man, it's just amazing to have you here. Please come back anytime, man.
For sure.
We'd
Oh,
love
man.
to have you back. Actually, next time you drop a project, man.
heck yeah,
I say spin
you know?
the block, man.
I'm
Spin
down.
the block.
You know,
You know?
shoot me the invite. I'm literally down the street.
Right
I
down
know,
the street.
right?
I might just come pick you up, bro. Don't even worry
Hey,
about
man,
it.
you know what?
I'm
Since you're
saying?
right down the street, if we ever have a cancellation, we might just hit you up and be like, hey, bro, come on.
Yeah. Let's
do it.
Easy, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Do it. We'll hit up.
You
the
might be a
little-
regular, you know?
hit up the little taco stand on the corner.
Yo, shout out to A1 Tacos.
yeah.
They're fire. Love A1. So I just had some on Tuesday. Shout out to A1 Tacos, too.
But anyways, man, thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming
man.
on,
Appreciate you,
man.
bro.
Yeah, thanks for showing the love, and you know, I wish you continued success.
Thanks,
you,
man.
Same
Thanks.
here.
Anyways, you guys stay safe. You guys stay positive out there.
And as always, this is The Gray Space. Peace.